Very good evening to all of you. Welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha Television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. India now has reported more than 2.3 lakh cases of novel coronavirus, taking it above Italy to become the nation with the sixth highest number of COVID-19 cases. That is sadly our top focus. Also, India-China LAC talks were held today to resolve the border impasse. Those stories and much more coming up in the next 30 minutes. And now an update on the COVID-19 situation, and the number of novel coronavirus cases in India rose to 2.35 lakh on Saturday after a record increase in the number of cases for the fourth day in a row. The active cases in India are doubling in 15 days. The death rate in India per million is low at the moment, but it is rising.
Another record single-day jump of 9,887 novel coronavirus cases pushed the nationwide infection tally to 2,36,657 on Saturday. The virus claimed 294 lives on Friday, the highest number of deaths in one day. According to the Union Health Ministry, the disease has claimed 6,642 lives so far. While there are over 1,15,000 active cases, 1,14,000 patients have recovered of COVID-19, which gives a recovery rate of 48.2%. The ICMR has tested over 1,37,000 samples in the last 24 hours. So far, over 45 lakh samples have been tested. 60% of the new cases are coming from hotspots of Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Delhi and Gujarat. Maharashtra saw a slight dip in daily fresh cases from the previous day. 2,436 people were diagnosed positive with coronavirus infection on Friday. The state's COVID-19 tally stands at 80,229. The death toll has risen to 2,849. Tamil Nadu witnessed a steep rise of 1,438 fresh cases in the last 24 hours, taking its total count to 28,694. Delhi reported 1,330 new cases, taking the total case count to 26,334. The city has had over 1,000 cases in the last 3 days. 10,315 people have recovered, while 708 lives have been lost to COVID-19. Gujarat saw its biggest spike in daily COVID-19 count after 500 people tested positive in the last 24 hours. The state now has 19,094 patients. Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka, Kerala and Jharkhand also reported their biggest daily increase on Friday. Kerala for the first time reported over 100 coronavirus cases in a single day. At least 111 people tested positive, taking the state's tally to 1,699. At least 496 people tested positive in Uttar Pradesh. The state's count now stands at 9,733. While West Bengal confirmed 427 COVID-19 cases, the COVID-19 tally in the state increased to 7,303. India is now the sixth worst affected nation after the United States, Brazil, Russia, Spain and the UK.
While COVID-19 cases continue to rise, the government has also ramped up the country's health infrastructure significantly to better deal with the pandemic. Here is a look at how India has prepared itself to meet the challenges.
From March 25th, when India entered the first phase of lockdown, till now, the country has seen a massive growth in COVID-19 related health infrastructure. From testing laboratories to increasing the number of COVID hospitals, the government has taken many measures in its fight against the novel coronavirus. In January 2020, India had just one lab testing for COVID-19 at the Indian Council of Medical Research's National Institute of Virology in Pune. On 7th March, 52 laboratories were operational across the country for testing the COVID-19 virus. Today, there are a total of 688 labs testing COVID-19, including 520 government and 222 private ones. So far, over 45 lakh samples have been tested. Over 1.3 lakh samples were tested on June 5th alone. On 27th March, the centre asked all states to earmark hospitals for treating only COVID-19 patients. The centre also directed the states to ramp up their capacity to manage the increasing number of cases. On the 21st of May, the Health Ministry said that India utilized the lockdown period to ramp up its health infrastructure, and that has kept its COVID-19 mortality rate relatively low. As on June 5, 2020, 957 dedicated COVID-19 hospitals have been readied. These hospitals have 1,66,460 isolation beds, 21,473 ICU beds and 72,497 oxygen-supported beds. A significant increase from April 12, when 601 dedicated COVID-19 hospitals were operating with 1,05,980 beds. Other than these, 2,362 dedicated COVID health centers are also operating across the country. They have 1,32,593 isolation beds, 10,903 ICU beds and 45,562 oxygen-supported beds, 11,210 quarantine centers and 7,529 COVID care centers with 7,03,786 beds are also functional. When India began its fight against COVID-19, not a single PPE was being manufactured in the country, while N95 masks were being manufactured in small quantities. Today, India is manufacturing 3 to 5 lakh PPEs every day and distributing to states. So far, the centre has also provided 128.48 lakh N95 masks and 104.74 lakh personal protective equipment to the states, union territories and central institutions. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In some other news, President Ramnath Kovind on Friday promulgated an ordinance to amend the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code to stop fresh insolvency proceedings due to defaults because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Default on repayments from 25th of March, the day when the nationwide lockdown began, would not be considered for initiating insolvency proceedings for a period of 6 months, not exceeding 1 year from such date, according to the ordinance. 3 sections under the code, 7, 9 and 10, would not be applicable for the 6-month period. In this regard, a new section 10A has been inserted in the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. While sections 7 and 9 provide for initiation of insolvency proceedings by financial creditors and operational creditors respectively, section 10 pertains to corporate applicants. Under the IBC, an entity can seek insolvency proceedings against a company even if the repayment is delayed by just 1 day. This is subject to the minimum threshold of 1 crore rupees. Earlier, the threshold was 1 lakh rupees. The ordinance is expected to provide relief for corporates as the pandemic and subsequent lockdown significantly impacted economic activities. The government has also promulgated 2 more ordinances with the aim of giving a boost to rural economy and also to help farmers. These 2 ordinances are the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Ordinance and the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Ordinance 2020. The first ordinance allows any trader to engage in interstate and intrastate trade of scheduled agricultural produce with a farmer or another trader in a trade area. The ordinance empowers anyone to trade in agricultural commodities armed with just a PAN card or any other document as specified by the central government. The ordinance also empowers anyone to open an e-trading platform for which the centre can specify rules. The Contract Farming Ordinance allows any company or processor or FPO or cooperative society to enter into a contract farming arrangement for a minimum of 1 crop cycle in case of crops or 1 production cycle in case of livestock. No state act or law will be applicable to agricultural produce grown through this arrangement. If the buyer fails to make payment on time, he will have to pay a penalty of 1.5 times the value.
In the recent times, the COVID 19 pandemic has affected the human thinking and behavior the most.
Stating this in a Facebook post, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has pointed out that the world has been altered forever. He said the pandemic has made acts like shaking hands or even social gatherings risky and dangerous. And because of our primal instincts of survival, we humans have adapted to the new normal. The Vice President complimented Indians for their exceptional response to the prolonged lockdown. He says, and I quote, "I must compliment the people of the country for their exceptional and positive response to the prolonged lockdown. Their patience and resilience, the implicit trust they reposed in the government and in Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi's visionary leadership, and above all, the sense of solidarity with which they rose to the occasion." Reassuring the poor and the needy, the Vice President underlined the need to have proper data on migrant workers. He said, and I quote, "The governments at the centre and in the states have taken several measures to alleviate the suffering of the poor and the needy, especially migrant workers. The recent events underline the need for having proper data on the migrants in the country." He added that creating such data will help the governments to impart skills and create employment opportunities to them in their respective places. At the same time, there is a need to create awareness among the migrants on the facilities available for their welfare and upliftment. The Vice President also asserted that it is everybody's responsibility to prevent the spread of the virus. He said that the time has come for people of the country to practice self-policing. There is no other alternative but to take all precautions in a conscious and deliberate manner. The Vice President also urged people to understand the true spirit behind the Prime Minister's call for Atmanirbhar Bharat. He said, and I quote, "Before concluding, I would like the people to understand the true spirit behind the call given by the Prime Minister for Atmanirbhar Bharat. It is not a call to boycott foreign goods. Rather, it seeks to promote Indian goods, handicrafts, cottage industry, the craftsmanship of local artisans and local resources to strengthen the economy."
Amid the COVID 19 crisis, the Uttarakhand government is sensing a reverse migration opportunity. Speaking exclusively to Rajya Sabha television, Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat said that the state government is trying to help the returning migrant workers to find permanent work in Uttarakhand. Here is a detailed report.
The Uttarakhand government is facilitating loans for returning migrants to work in service and construction sectors. According to Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat, in order to get self-employment, applicants have to apply online to the Mukhyamantri Swarojgar Yojana.
देखिए, कुछ योजनाएं तो हमारी पहले से चल रही हैं राज्य में, और मेरी एक सोच है कि हमें अपने आवश्यकता की जो वस्तुएं हैं वो जितना हो सके हम लोकल हमको जनरेट करना चाहिए और स्थानीय आधार पर ही उसकी आपूर्ति होनी चाहिए। तो ये तो हमारी बेसिक सोच है जिस पर ये सरकार पिछले 3 वर्ष से काम कर रही है, चाहे उसमें हमारे रूरल ग्रोथ सेंटर होंगे या हमारी जो एग्रीकल्चर, हॉर्टिकल्चर या जो मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स की तमाम जो हमारी क्लस्टर अप्रोच चल रही है उस पर हम ऑलरेडी पहले से काम कर रहे हैं। लेकिन इस दौरान हमने एक मुख्यमंत्री स्वरोजगार योजना हम लाए हैं।
Rawat also gave details about safety measures for the Char Dham Yatra. The Uttarakhand government is starting the tour to the 4 shrines of Kedarnath, Badrinath, Gangotri and Yamunotri from the 8th of June.
जो ये कोरोना महामारी है, इसका स्वरूप कोई निश्चित नहीं है, कोई निर्धारित नहीं है। भविष्य में ये क्या रूप लेगा, क्या आकार लेगा, अभी कुछ भी कहना कठिन है। और इस पर हम जो विशेषज्ञ हैं उनकी राय के आधार पर ही चलेंगे। जहाँ तक राज्य सरकार की तैयारी का विषय है तो हम उसके लिए तैयारी कर रहे हैं। जो संत समाज है वो भी हमारे निरंतर संपर्क में है, वो भी इस पर विचार कर रहे हैं कि हमको क्या करना चाहिए।
The Uttarakhand Chief Minister also refuted reports of forest fires in the state. He asserted that baseless pictures were being circulated on social media platforms. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
And due to an overwhelming response, Air India has said it would offer more seats on its flights under the third phase of the centre's Vande Bharat mission.
The announcement came a day after the national carrier opened bookings for 300 flights from select destinations, including the US and the UK, between June 10th and July 1st. The sale of tickets for the flights commenced at 5 p.m. on Friday. Air India informed that between 5 p.m. on Friday and 8 a.m. on Saturday, it sold over 22,000 seats. As part of the centre's repatriation program, the airline will operate around 300 flights to Europe, Australia, Canada, the USA, the UK, and Africa. Around 38,000 Indians are expected to be repatriated in the third phase of the mission. Meanwhile, an Air India flight carrying 143 passengers from Kuwait landed in Gaya on Saturday under the extended second phase of the mission. A flight from Kuwait landed at Delhi airport at 6:20 p.m. carrying 149 passengers. An Air India flight carrying 149 Indians each from Ho Chi Minh City and Jeddah will arrive in Kochi and Chennai late on Saturday night. Air India's special flight from Frankfurt carrying 247 Indian nationals will arrive at Delhi airport at around 9:30 p.m. In another development, Indian naval ship INS Jalashva with 700 Indian nationals departed for India from Malé on Friday. The ship reached Malé on 4th June for her third trip under Operation Samudra Setu. The ship is expected to reach Tuticorin in Tamil Nadu on Sunday. Indian Railways on Saturday informed that over 58 lakh migrant workers stranded across the country have been ferried to their native places amid the COVID-19 lockdown. Chairman of the Railway Board Vinod Kumar Yadav said Railways has conducted the operation by running 4,286 Shramik special trains till now.
भारतीय रेल ने और राज्य सरकारों ने एक समन्वय स्थापित करके ये ट्रेनें चलाईं और आज दिन तक करीब 4,286 ट्रेनें चल चुकी हैं। 58 लाख से ज़्यादा 58 लाख से ज़्यादा लोग जा चुके हैं। पिछले 3-4 दिनों से ये देखा जा रहा है कि जो इसकी डिमांड है, जो ट्रेनों की डिमांड है, जो कि हम प्रतिदिन करीब 250 कर रहे थे, वो धीरे धीरे घट रही है। पहले 170 आई, फिर 137 पे आई और पिछले 2 दिनों में अगर देखें तो हमने 32 और 24 ट्रेनें चलाई हैं।
The World Health Organization has issued fresh guidelines to contain the spread of novel coronavirus. As the countries move towards lesser lockdown restrictions, the WHO has made wearing of masks mandatory worldwide. Besides other control and prevention measures, the WHO has also recommended which groups should wear masks.
WHO advises that governments should encourage the general public to wear masks where there is widespread transmission and physical distancing is difficult, such as on public transport, in shops, or in other confined or crowded environments.
WHO has asked governments to encourage the general public to wear masks where there is widespread transmission and physical distancing is difficult. This would include public transport, shops, or other confined and crowded environments. Meanwhile, Spain is all set to further ease lockdown restrictions from Monday. Madrid and Barcelona will allow customers to eat and drink inside bars and restaurants, while children will be able to play outside at any time of the day. Spain will start opening its borders to foreign tourists from July 1st. In Moscow, the streets got busier on Friday as Russia partially lifted restrictions further, allowing people to go for walks and some non-essential stores to open. French medieval amusement park Parc des Feux is preparing to reopen on June 11th with social distancing for knights and damsels. France gradually allowed businesses and public spaces like restaurants, parks, and museums to reopen in early June. On Friday, mosques opened doors to worshippers for prayer in Saudi Arabia and Jordan. Wearing face masks, disinfecting hands, using personal prayer mats while maintaining social distancing has been made mandatory in all mosques in the region. However, the elderly, children under 15, and people with chronic diseases are banned from attending prayers. On Saturday, Turks streamed outside for their first weekend without restrictions in nearly 2 months. People flooded beaches and shores in Istanbul and hundreds queued to get into parks. Turkey started easing lockdown restrictions on Monday, allowing cafes, restaurants and other facilities to reopen. Globally, the COVID-19 pandemic has claimed over 398,000 lives. More than 6.8 million confirmed COVID-19 cases have been reported so far.
The biggest story of the day. Indian and Chinese armies on Saturday held Lieutenant General level talks to resolve the month-long border standoff in eastern Ladakh. Here is a detailed report.
Commanders of the Indian and Chinese armies held talks to resolve the tense situation along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh on Saturday. The Indian delegation was led by Lieutenant General Harinder Singh, the General Officer commanding of Leh-based 14 Corps, while the Chinese side was headed by the commander of the Tibet Military District. The talks were held at the border personnel meeting point in Maldo on the Chinese side of the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh. An Indian Army statement said both India and China continue to remain engaged through the established military and diplomatic channels to address the current situation on the India-China border areas. Saturday's meeting took place after 12 rounds of talks between local commanders of the two armies and 3 rounds of discussions between major general rank officials could not produce any tangible outcome. The high-level military dialogue took place a day after both countries held diplomatic talks and agreed to handle their differences through peaceful discussions. The standoff in eastern Ladakh began on May 5 and 6 after around 250 Chinese and Indian soldiers engaged in a face-off. The Chinese army is learned to have deployed around 2,500 troops in Pangong Tso and Galwan Valley, besides gradually enhancing temporary infrastructure and weaponry. As per reports, India has been pressing for restoration of status quo in Galwan Valley, Pangong Tso and Gogra in eastern Ladakh. During the military talks, India also opposed the huge build-up of Chinese troops in the region and asked China not to resist development of infrastructure by India on its side of the de facto border. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In some other news, the central teams on Saturday visited some cyclone-affected areas of a South 24 Parganas district in West Bengal.
The 7-member interministerial central delegation, headed by a joint secretary in the Home Ministry, is assessing the damage caused by Cyclone Amphan. The officials toured several devastated villages and embankment of Pathar Pratima and Sandesh Khali blocks on Friday. The officials were accompanied by local block development officer and panchayat members. The officials will submit their report to the Union Home Ministry in Delhi. On May 22nd, Prime Minister Modi announced an advance relief of 1,000 crore rupees that was released by the centre to the state. Meanwhile, the Odisha government sought an estimated 20,000 crore rupees to develop disaster-resilient infrastructure and repair the damage caused by Cyclone Amphan. The central team that visited the state to assess the damage caused by the cyclone praised the preparedness, response and disaster management skill of Odisha.
Big story from the US, where former Vice President Joe Biden has formally won the Democratic nomination for the presidential race. He will contest against President Donald Trump in the November election.
Biden secured over 1,991 delegates out of the 3,979 declared delegates, becoming eligible to be chosen as a nominee at the party's national convention. Biden said he would now focus on earning votes of Americans and winning the battle for the soul of America. He also charged President Donald Trump with mismanaging the coronavirus health crisis. Joe Biden won the delegates after 7 states and the District of Columbia held presidential primaries on Tuesday. Biden was the 47th Vice President of the United States from 2009 to 2017 during Barack Obama's presidency.
He has no idea the depth of the pain that so many people are still enduring. He remains completely oblivious to the human toll of his indifference. It's time for him to step out of his own bunker take a look around the consequences of his words and his actions. Let's be clear. The president who takes no responsibility for costing millions and millions of Americans their jobs deserves no credit when a fraction of them return.
And that is it from me and the entire team of News Tonight at the moment. We'll see you on Monday with all the day's big stories. Till then, stay home, stay safe, stay healthy, take care. Good night.